Hi, so I'll do a product management case today. So now you could either search product management scenario from here in the featured, or you can go to the courses tab and go to PM interview and click here. I'll also, we have lifetime collections here where you can pick scenarios from. So today I'll take from the lifetime collections. Here there are some free scenarios that you can access. So let me do today a Gmail QPS estimation question. So I'll go here, I will do join, and so this is a scenario. You can also read through some hints here, but overall you can just start from here.
Hello there. Today we'll be working through a technical estimation problem together. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Great. So the question is, how many queries per second does Gmail get? Feel free to define what you consider a query and ask any clarifying questions.
Okay.
What are your initial thoughts on how we should approach this?
Yeah, so first I also wanted to discuss like what query is. Is it any user initiated action like search, email? Is page open also a query or not?
Yes, page loads are included. Now, how would you break down this problem to estimate the queries per second?
So I have more clarifying question. So we have to do for global and all, or just like for a particular US region, let's say.
Let's focus on global usage.
I'd love to know that whether it's average or peak time. And secondly, should I include workspace like the business use or just like personal use?
Let's calculate both average and peak queries per second. And for simplicity, let's focus on consumer Gmail usage. How would you structure your approach to estimate this?
Yeah, so the way I'll approach is that I'll start with the number of customers that we have some estimate and try to figure out how based on the usage pattern, what is the total number of queries, which would be like number of customers into number of times they use and weighted sum of that in some ways. And once I got the total number of queries, I'll divided by seconds in a day to get an average number of queries. And then we will have to assume a peak load factor that, okay, like let's say it's New Year's or it's start of the Monday morning or something like that, where the usage will be peak. And we will put that peak load factor to estimate the peak usage. Does that sound good?
That sounds like a reasonable approach. Starting with the number of users and their usage patterns is a good starting point. How would you estimate the number of users and their usage patterns?
Okay. So from public reports, we know that like typical, like Google has 8 or 9 products with 2 billion, like billion plus user. I think Gmail being one of the old one should likely be in the higher side. So maybe 2.5 billion. And for simplicity, I'll pick 2 billion sort of overall accounts that are on Gmail. And then I'll pick based like some estimate that what is the average, like who use daily or like less heavily and all. Does that sound good to you?
Yes, using publicly available information is a good starting point. And segmenting users based on their usage patterns is also helpful.
Okay.
How would you estimate the number of active users and their typical number of queries per day?
Okay. Can I take 30 seconds to just jot down my thoughts and then walk you through that calculation?
Take your time. I'm here to listen when you're ready.
Okay. So this is how I will calculate it. Okay, let me take 10 more seconds just to complete the calculation and then I'll get back to you.
No problem at all. Just let me know when you're ready to share your calculations.
Okay, so this is how I calculated. I assume like typical consumer app I have seen that out of total registered user, like 25 to 30% is the active, like daily active users for a very engaged app. And Gmail is kind of that engaged app. So I'll assume that 500 million people are sort of using it on a daily basis. And I'll segmented it on sort of very active usage to like least active. So I think very frequently using people, these are like sending tens of emails every day, responding to 30 plus email and searching and all. So I'll assume 50 queries in this case. Then there is a broad 60% of the group, which is sort of on an average doing like 4 or 5 emails and then doing like 20 emails that they receive from a lot of like subscription and like other people. I'll simplify, instead of 25, I'll take 20 for simpler calculation. And then there are some people who are barely using it, like they will open and maybe send 1 email and they get 5 emails a day, which is still good enough. So I'll simplify here and take 5 emails a day. So I calculated the weighted average and multiplied with 500 million, and overall this makes up to 16 billion queries per day. I imagine that there are some things that I would, if I had more time, I would do more research. Like an active user, I would likely do some research that is it the salesperson or executive and their typical frequency. And I think the percentage of people who are using it daily, whether it's 25 or 20, can make a huge difference. So I would have done more analysis here, but I think the number should be close to this one. Any thoughts?
I hear your calculation. It sounds like you've considered different usage segments and their corresponding query frequency. Your estimate of 16 billion queries per day is a reasonable starting point. Now, how would you determine the queries per second and account for peak times?
Okay. Yeah, so I think that should be quick one. I'll just take so basically there are 16 billion queries, and we will find, like, in 24 hours, 60 minutes into 60 seconds to find the queries. So just a second, 16,000 million, and this, and 16, I'll, let's say, make it 18, and I'll make it 3, and I'll make it 8, so 10 by 8, 1, so 1.2. So it's 1.2 million query per second is what is coming out on average. I did some approximation. I made 18 billion queries for easier calculation. And I would imagine that because of the different time zones and all, there is not a clear peak. But US aspect, like a lot of people are in US or China, India, almost similar time zone, there could be an aspect of colliding. And if I imagine, like, India contributes to 1/5 of population, right, or similar is China is 1/5, and if these two population collide, so this can lead to around 40% peak at that time if these people wake up and use it at same time. So I think the peak percentage could be easily like 1.5 to 2x of this in some cases. If and also So I would imagine that it's like 2.4 million to 3 million, like in the upper bound, which is the 2x. What would be the peak?
So you're suggesting a peak QPS that's about 2x the average QPS based on the overlapping usage patterns in large populations like India and China? That's an interesting way to think about it. What factors are contributing to that specific multiplier?
Yeah, the way I calculated it was like 40% of the world population is in India and China. So if these population together use it, because let's say if they are nearby time zone in somewhat, then it will lead to highest of that factor. And for just like to be better prepared in terms of QPS on our server, I took a reasonable 2x of that.
Yes, that's a significant increase from the average. It reflects the impact of concentrated usage times across different regions. Now, based on this, what kind of system architecture would need to be in place to handle such a high query load, especially during peak times?
Yeah, so I mean, we should, of course, have a reasonable auto scaling on our server side, that depending on if the queries increase, the number of servers that we have should increase. And also it should be reasonably deployed. So let's say the queries are increasing from the India and China region, so likely the servers in those region we should spin up more, because it's computation. So I think the server is the main aspect, but the storage and all will also be impacted, right? If people are writing more email, then it has to be put here there. And maybe if there are more viral emails, like if you're sending to a lot of people at that time, so then our caching and those has to be also accordingly increased. I could spend more time on this, but basically I would imagine that just taking care of servers in the nearby region would be good enough. Okay, so I will stop the interview here, and after the interview the analysis happens. That takes you to the analysis screen, and you can see the result. And so try it out on our website. Thank you so much.